The Empire of Japan is on a rampage. Pearl Harbor has been bombed, Southeast Asia is falling like dominoes, and Allied forces are reeling. But what if they'd gone further? What if Japan invaded Australia, the last Allied stronghold in the Pacific? This is not just a military fantasy, it was planned, and it could have changed the entire outcome of World War II. This is Axis of Maybe. Japan's real plan, Operation FS. In early 1942, the Japanese High Command debated a bold idea: take out Australia. The plan, dubbed Operation FS, wasn't fiction. The goal? Cripple the Allies' Pacific foothold by either isolating or invading Australia. Australia was already under threat. Darwin had been bombed in February 1942, more bombs than Pearl Harbor. Japanese submarines were hitting Sydney Harbor. Citizens were building bunkers. Prime Minister John Curtin was begging Churchill and Roosevelt for help. The Japanese saw Australia as the launch pad for any Allied counterattack. Take it out, and the Pacific becomes a Japanese lake. The invasion begins. Japanese boots on Australian soil. Let's say they go all in. Japanese forces, fresh from victories in Singapore, Malaya, and the Philippines, land along the vulnerable northern coast of Australia. Cities like Darwin, Townsville, and Cairns fall quickly. The Australian army is stretched thin. Only a handful of divisions stand between the invaders and the southern heartlands. Sydney and Melbourne prepare for street-by-street combat. Civilians are armed. The outback becomes a battlefield of guerrilla warfare. The iconic image of World War II changes. Now it's koalas, jungles, and kangaroos mixed with rising suns and bonsai charges. The American dilemma: defend or abandon. Here's the nightmare scenario. Japan controls the Philippines, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and now half of Australia. The Allies' Pacific supply line is shattered. Hawaii and California feel next. Roosevelt faces a brutal decision: divert troops and ships from Europe to try and liberate Australia, or focus everything on Hitler and risk losing the Pacific. This delays D-Day, splits Allied forces, and possibly extends the war by years. Meanwhile, New Zealand becomes a fortress, the last Allied island. It braces for invasion. The Pacific is now the world's deadliest chessboard. The long-term fallout: nuclear bombs and Cold Wars down under. Let's take it further. Imagine the Allies regroup. In 1945, they still developed the atomic bomb. But instead of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the targets are now Brisbane or Darwin, Japanese-occupied cities on Australian soil. The scars would remain forever. Not in Japan, but in Australia. Post-war, Australia becomes a battleground for influence. Part US, part Japan, maybe even split like Korea. The Cold War in the Pacific becomes a fight over Sydney and Melbourne. A new Iron Curtain, this time drawn across the Great Barrier Reef. Culture, identity, and a new Australia. What does Australia even look like after this? Massive US military bases on the Gold Coast, Japanese language enclaves in Darwin, a PTSD-ridden generation that fought in their own backyards, an Australia that never feels safe again. No lucky country, no laid-back culture. Its national identity forever shaped not by the Anzacs of Gallipoli, but by the battle for Brisbane and the siege of Sydney. And one more thing: Aboriginal Australians may rise in the chaos, seizing land, joining resistance movements, even forming their own mini-states in the outback. The entire soul of Australia changes. The butterfly effect of invasion. What if Japan invaded Australia? World War II drags on. The atomic bomb hits a different continent. The Cold War shifts south. And the very meaning of Australia becomes something darker, bloodier, and far less free. One bold move by Japan, one invasion, and the Pacific becomes the main event in human history. This is Axis of Maybe.